Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and £1,000 up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.
Hello and welcome to this Monday Postcast. I'm Maddie Plell, joined in the studio by Nick Watts, and we also have Paul Binfield on the line. Just the trio of us today. Nice little small team. Wattsy, how was the Christmas dinner? Not too disastrous in the end.
No, it worked out very well actually. I surprised myself and my wife, I think, as well, by producing something that was edible. So yeah, all was good. No food poisoning. We got through it all fine, so it's great.
You've made a mistake there now, because people are just going to want you to cook all the time. Now you've proved you can do it.
Yeah, no, I think it was a one-off. There could be a bounce factor involved if I do it again within the next 6 months, I think. So yeah, I'm happy to hand it over again.
Yeah, be careful. Binners, how was your Christmas?
Absolutely brilliant, Madders. Happy New Year to you and the gazillions of Racing Post TV listeners.
So we're going to look back at some of the weekend's action now, starting off with Doncaster. Wattsy, not the biggest meeting on, but it was great to see Lady Buttons out and winning again. Really nice story for the North. Philip Kirby having a really smart horse on his hands. Yeah,
definitely. He's one of these underrated trainers. There's like a small army of them over the British Isles who don't maybe get the horses or the praise or the column inches and all that, but he's perfectly capable when he gets the material. And Lady Buttons is a really, really nice horse, and one that can take him, probably to a spring festival. I'd hesitate to say Cheltenham maybe, but he did take her to Aintree last year for the Grade 1.
Yeah.
Diego Duchamel won that race, but Lady Buttons was fourth.
She ran really well, I thought.
Ran really well, wasn't beaten that far, and I think she's improved quite significantly since then. And being a local trainer, I'm sure Phil Kirby would be keen to take her back to Aintree again. So fantastic for him, and it just goes to show you there is life outside the kind of big trainers in Britain and Ireland, and there's loads of people who can do a good job. Yeah,
for sure. Simply Ned, another Grade 1 winner over the period, who's obviously shown that Northern trainers are just as good. Binners, Lady Buttons, I don't know, have you got any sort of shortened death or any future targets on the back of that win?
Well, actually, Maddie, we haven't really got her in any races at the moment. As Nick's just said, and Phil Kirby, he's had 7 wins since Boxing Day, which is astounding. And Lady Buttons win over 2.5 miles opens a few more doors for the mare. Phil Kirby is talking about either the Queen Mother Champion Chase, where of course he'd have to take on Altior, or the Grand Annual for her, but we haven't actually got her in any lists at the present time.
Yeah, no worries. Just very interesting because she is dual purpose, as you say. She seems to be really, really good, so they can pick and choose targets with her. We'll move on to Newbury and the Challow, then always a good race. What's he historically good horse to win it like Denman. Champ, sort of favourite for the Ballymore before he went into the race, shortened off the back of it. What was your immediate reaction to his win?
I really liked the win, and I liked the race as well. It looked strong coming into it. Loads of ones next to the horses' names. Cateson was in there. Getaway Trump was in form as well. Champ was in form. Brewing Up a Storm would look good. So I think it'll be strong form. Champ's kind of taken me by surprise a little bit. He won a handicap prior to that off 139, and he was 9-2 favourite to win that, which doesn't indicate huge, confidence. Yeah, he did go off favourite, but it was 9-2 the field, so suggesting it was an open race. But obviously he's hosed up there and gone from handicap straight into the Challow and won that pretty comfortably as well. So he obviously is smart. I still think there's a bit of a shakedown to come in the Ballymore market, and I think there's a few more players who will come to the fore. But really liked him, and I really liked the second horse as well. Getaway Trump was one I mentioned on the show a few weeks ago. He was, on a real roll, and not at the beginning one of Paul Nichols's kind of better known faces, if you like, in the team, but he's stringing together some really nice performances, and it took a long time to get him off the bridle in that Newbury race. And he's won point-to-points in the past as well, so I don't know whether a step up to 3 miles might unlock a bit more improvement in him, but I'd certainly keep him on side too.
Yeah, and Champ, you have to remember, he pushed Vindication, who's unbeaten, of course, closest in Novice Hurdle at Ascot. He's got the name, so he has the reputation. Binners, what did the market do? Did you cut him very much?
Absolutely, Maddie. Yeah, we halved Champ in price. He's now 5-1 favourite. He was 10-1 joint favourite with Tornado Flyer. Getaway Trump, who Nick just mentioned, 16-1 from 25. So that was a taking second. And then in between those two, you've got Battle Over Doyen at 12-1 and Champagne Platinum at 14-1.
Yeah, Champagne Platinum winning as well on the card. Battle Over Doyen, he looked really good, but am I being a bit harsh to sort of think I want something to really wow me and come out? So far as sort of the British novices go, nothing has really got me going, so to speak.
Yeah, you could be right. I mean, we're only at the New Year point, so there's still loads to emerge in Jan and Feb, I would think. Downtown Getaway was one I had on my list at the start of the season. I know he only finished second at Newbury last time, but he made a bad mistake at a crucial time. There's still loads to take from the run. Be really interested to see what he can do next time out, see if he can improve. I'm sure he will, and that looked a good race as well. So, yeah, I think you're probably right not to be wowed just yet, and you can say that for a lot of Cheltenham markets. There's still a lot of racing to be done before we start thinking about March. Yeah,
that same sort of thing applies to one of the races we're going to mention later on at Cheltenham tomorrow, so maybe some sort of horses can step forward from that. Leopardstown, obviously Sam Crow, the bubble now has well and truly burst, hasn't it? Beaten by Sharjah and a load of others in the Ryanair hurdle. Let's start off with the winner, because it's only fair that we give him credit for doing what's, he's sort of taken his form to a new level and he's really impressing people. Perhaps, a bit unlucky last year with falling late on in grade ones and things like that. But does he really feature on your champion hurdle radar now? What's he after the festive period? Verdana Blue beat Bouvardere and things like that?
Well, it does leave it quite open, doesn't it? If Bouvardere had gone and won the Christmas hurdle by 5 or 6 lengths, or as well as he did the Fighting Fifth prior to that, then you'd say case closed and he wins comfortably. But, there was a chink in the armour there. There was evidence before that race that his hurdling, although slick, was getting lower and lower. And I think he was, you could kind of half see it coming that he'd make a blunder like that. So Verdana Blue certainly opened it up. Sharjah's shot through the door. Not at his best at Cheltenham last season, but like you said, he had a bad fall to overcome. The ground was probably wrong for him at Cheltenham in the Supreme as well, so that probably attributed for that. And he's done it in all sorts of types of races since then, hasn't he, which I quite like. It shows versatility. He's won a big handicap. He won the Galway hurdle. So he's got toughness as well as class.
Is he really good enough, though?
Yeah, but you say that. You were saying a minute ago what's really wowed you this season. What's really wowed you in the champion hurdle market?
Yeah.
There's not much.
Yeah.
Sam Crow's obviously underperformed. Bouvardere underperformed last time out. So, it's open for something to come through. And I think it'd be dangerous to dismiss Sharjah, because I think, if we get a traditional Cheltenham on good ground, then I think he's got quite a smart turn of foot. So he's definitely a big player.
Yeah, Binners, it's been sort of an eventful time in terms of the champion hurdle landscape. How's the market changed with Bouvardere getting beaten and Sharjah emerging as a real candidate?
Well, Bouvardere still heads the market, Maddie, at 5-4 favourite, followed by Lorena, who, as you know, doesn't line up at Cheltenham on New Year's Day. Then we've got Mellon, question mark over him, that's 8-1. Sharjah went 10 from 33 after winning the race at the Ryanair hurdle at Leopardstown. It's now 8-1, so punters clearly aren't dismissing him. And then Verdana Blue in at 10-1 after that one's win at Kempton, and it's 12-1 bar.
Yeah, if we just go back to Sam Crow for a second, then what would you do with him now? I think connections are saying, he's clearly not right. We'll put him away and bring him back next season. Do you think he wasn't right? Do you think there was a genuine sort of valid excuse there, or do you think he's just gone downhill?
It's hard to know, isn't it? He's kind of been a bit the same on all his races this season, and I can understand them starting off back over hurdles and going down the champion hurdle route at the start of the season. I was advocating that. I thought they lose nothing. I thought he deserved it on the back of his performances last season to at least have a crack, and they've given it a crack, and he's come up short. And he travelled well into the straight at Newcastle and got outspeeded by Bouvardere from the last. He travelled well into this race, again, kind of flattened out, but flattened out kind of more alarmingly this time.
Yeah.
Maybe we're all guilty of overrating him from last year. I mean, he beat Black Op in workmanlike fashion at Cheltenham at the festival, not in scintillating fashion, not something a performance that would make you go wow particularly. And I think, it's an easy thing to say in hindsight, but maybe we just all get a bit carried away by that, by those novice performances.
Well, you say that. The same thing with Kalashnikov getting beaten at Kempton and Black Op. He couldn't win on Chasing Debut. Definitely just saw him, more of which later.
But I think they're doing exactly the right thing. I think they're just taking stock. They're thinking, well, we haven't got a champion hurdle horse on our hands, obviously. Maybe it's a bit late in the day to go chasing, because he's, it's not a long time till March now to get him right for spring festivals and to send him over fences. So, I think they're doing the best thing, just taking stock, giving him a bit of time to get over all of this. And I'm sure he'll come back and emerge as a good chasing prospect, but reputation definitely tainted, and possibly won't ever be as good as as people maybe once thought.
Yeah, Binners, what are your thoughts on the whole Sam Crow situation?
Well, I'm slightly sad actually, Maddie. I really had hoped that Gordon Elliott had a superstar in Sam Crow. I'm sure he will turn out to be a very good animal. Gordon doesn't make many mistakes, but it was certainly disappointing last week. There were a lot of things in his favour this time, and he couldn't produce the goods. Nick might be right. Better to take a step backwards, bring him back next season, possibly have another go over hurdles. But you never know. He might just be brilliant over the bigger obstacles. We'll await with trepidation.
Yeah, he certainly looks that way. A lot of people saying he should have gone chasing. On a more lighter note, the RSA is shaping up to be one of the best races of the Cheltenham Festival, and Delta Work, of course, another Grade 1 on his CV at the weekend. You had Santini running a really nice trial. You say trial, he was still beaten by La Bagarre on top of the game, who both look really classy horses in their own right, Watsy. But let's go talk about Delta Work first. He was pretty good again.
Yeah, he was. He overcame a bit of trouble early in the race, didn't he? I think he nearly got, got interfered with slightly when another horse fell early on. So he overcame that. I thought it was going to be a good race coming to the last. And in fairness, the second has made a mistake, which has made it easier for Delta Work. But he really sprinted clear on the flat. And, it's the top Irish prospect for the RSA by some way. He's a previous festival winner, as we know from last season. So yeah, we know he can handle going over to the festival and excel there. It's interesting talk in the office actually, because it's kind of 50-50. Some people in Santini's camp, some people in Delta Works camp. I've got to say I'd be with Santini every day of the week.
Confidence there.
Yeah, I was really taken by that Newbury win on his chasing debut, and I don't think he really enjoyed Kempton as a track. He looked on the back foot kind of slightly throughout the race. I thought there was a lot to take from that, the way he stayed on really, really well, and I think if you get him back at Cheltenham on the left-handed track, I think there's even more to come, and I still, maintain the faith that he's a top-class prospect, and I think he's the one they will have to beat, and I'd definitely have him above Delta Work at the moment.
Okay, that's interesting. I know the sectional boys will say the final sort of splits that he ran were really impressive in that race, and you could see as well visually he was closing all the way to the line, so take nothing away from Santini for that third-placed effort. Binners, just refresh us on the RSA market.
Well, Santini, you guys been talking about, still 3-1 favourite for the race, Maddie. Delta Work 6-1. We cut him from 7 after his nice win at Leopardstown. Then it's 10-1 next destination, and we've got 3 on 12-1, including Warren Greatex's La Bagarre, who must be one of the toughest mares in training. Top of the game and Vindication.
Yeah, surely shaping up to be an absolute cracker. And we've also got some cracking racing on New Year's Day, which we're going to preview just after this.
Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and £1,000 up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.
Welcome back to this Monday Postcast. As promised, we're going to talk about some of the action tomorrow at Cheltenham, kicking off at the 1:25 with the Bet Dipper Novices Chase. What's a race with a really illustrious roll of honour. Some cracking horses have won it, and it involves some of the horses that we have been talking about. Defi Desoy obviously beat Black Op and top of the game last time. And then you've got On the Blind Side, who we've not seen for a long time. He was disappointing at Aintree when we did last see him. With the likes of Lost in Translation, his form ties in with La Bagarre, and Crucial Role, the other one for Dan Skelton, coming off the win of the last time. So it looks a really interesting contest.
Brilliant race, yeah, like you said, really intriguing. You can give chances to all of them. It's a tough ask for On the Blind Side, I think, first time out over fences. Or it could be a statement of intent from Nicky Henderson. Maybe he's really been impressing with his schooling. Be interesting to see how he goes. The one I'd be on would be Defi Desoy. Obviously it's well documented he missed out on last season. The Hobbs team not in form. He didn't show anything whatsoever. And he didn't show a huge amount on his comeback behind Layla at Cheltenham in that good novice chase. And you're thinking, which way is he going to go here? Another disappointing run. Bold piece of placing by Philip Hobbs to throw him into that novice chase extra on the back of that, because that was a really, really good race. As you said, top of the game was in it, Black Op was in it. But Defi came right back to his best and rose to the challenge and won really nicely. Obviously, top of the game whipped round at the start, so there might be something in that. Maybe it might have been slightly unlucky. But whatever, with or without that, it was a much, much improved effort from Defi Desile. And if he's back to the horse that he was when he was a brilliant juvenile hurdler, took everything before him, then I think he's the one they've all got to beat. And the longer distance at Exeter seemed to help him last time. So, no problems on the stamina front. And yeah, he'd be the one for me, definitely.
And are you worried about the track for Defi Desile?
No, not really. He won on all sorts of tracks back in his hurdling days, and I think more important is the example of Exeter that it showed his current well-being. So if he's back in a good place again, then I'm not bothered about the track. I just thought it was a hugely encouraging performance last time, big step up, and hopefully he can carry on in a similar vein. Yeah,
jumping was much improved. Binners, what do we reckon?
I couldn't agree more with Nick. I think Defi Desile is the one to beat, and the bookies agree with me, Maddie. We're 5-2 joint favourites, Black Op and Defi Desile, and it's 11-4 on the blind side, 7-2 lost in translation, and a 10-1 crucial roll. I seen Black Op is a fine horse, but I see no real reasons apart from the fact that he's entitled to come on for his seasonal debut why he should turn around the form with comfortable winner Defi Desile. So I'm in Nick's camp very much indeed.
Yeah, I agree with you on Black Op. I sort of expected a little bit better than he sort of put up. So as you say, although he's entitled to come forward from that, I'm sort of on the fence with him. I quite like Lost in Translation. I think maybe he's worth another chance. His form ties in well with Le Bagawa, who of course won the Quarto Star Novices Chase. If he wouldn't have belted that fence 3 out last time, who knows, maybe he would have got a lot closer to that mare. So at least we know that form stands up. But regardless, it should be a really entertaining race. Anyway, we'll move on to the 140 at Musselburgh, also on TV. It's the Betway Old Reekie Handicap Chase. Now, some grand old horses in here. Mix Boy, one of them, the grey. Not Graffin's engaged. He won this race last year. Binners, just go through the betting for us.
Well, we haven't got that one priced at the current time, Maddie. But if I was going to offer a selection, I'll probably go for Ian Jardine's Cool Mix. I think he deserves another victory. He's been second 3 times in a row now, and I still think that he can be very competitive off a handicap mark of 128.
Okay, well, it's really nice to have the action from Musselburgh once again. Who's your fancy in this one?
I think Not Graffin will prove quite popular, and he'd be the one I'd side with. Obviously won the race last season. I think he's off a £2 lower mark this time, and he's had wind surgery as well. Probably been a target for a little while, having gone up there and won what is quite a good pot for the track. Like you said, it's a good meeting there tomorrow. So I think he carries a lot of positives, so he would do for me. Yeah,
Ollie Murphy, he's really showcased how good he is, and obviously now he trains all of Barbara Hester's horses, as we saw with Brewing Up a Storm in the Challow. So Not Graffin could be another big win for him.
Good owner knowledge there, I didn't know her name actually.
Yeah, well, she used to have horses like Robin Rowe with Dan Skelton and things like that, but I know there was a big move of all of her horses to Ollie Murphy, so I'm not sure what happened there, but very interesting nevertheless. We'll move on to the 2 o'clock at Cheltenham, which is the Download the BetBright app handicap chase, a grade 3. Now, ASO heads the weights here. I know you're pretty keen on him. Talk us through why.
Yeah, he's just one of those. I'm still kicking myself now, like a month on, because I was at Newbury the day when he won last time, and he was 8-1.
I couldn't believe that. I quite fancied him that day.
Yeah, on the back of, for no other reason, he'd had a long absence, I think. But that's never been an issue for any trainer these days, particularly Venetia Williams. And he actually ran them ragged, and you look through his back form, like he's beaten 7 lengths by a peak form under so in the Ryanair Chase a few seasons ago. He's been second in the Caspian Caviar behind Frodon the first time he won it. Really, really, really good back form. Venetia's in fantastic spirits. I think
I'm sure Tom Siegel, wherever he is, will be agreeing with you on that one.
Yeah, absolutely, if Tom's listening. She's had 3 winners since Christmas, so obviously the stable's in flying form as well. And I think Asso just isn't just one for this race. I'd be interested in him again at big prices. I think even if he's quoted for the Ryanair, I don't know. I think this is a really good horse who's kind of gone somewhat under the radar and underappreciated. And he showed what he could do at Newbury last time out. I know he's got top weight here, but he does represent the class angle. And I think he can do it again. So there's all systems go for Asso for me.
Okay, Binners, what price?
Well, Asso is 9-2 for Nick Maddie. We make Happy Diva for Kerry Lee, the 4-1 favourite. 11-2 Ballyhill. 11-2 Give Me a Copper. 6-1 Divine Spear. And my selection, Dustin Demoff for Dr. Richard Newland, whose horses are in fine form. I thought he ran a good race behind Deserti at Ascot last time, and if he reproduces that sort of effort, I'm sure he'll go close.
Yeah, it's a really interesting race, Watsy. I was talking to you beforehand. I was cursing my luck having backed Happy Diva in the Bet Victor Gold Cup. She was going so well, and along with Rather Be, she was brought down. So I'm sticking on her side. I think it's often a case of, I don't want to say smaller trainer, because Kerry Lee's absolutely excellent in her own right, but perhaps a little bit less sort of sexy, if you like. But this mare, she's tough as old boots, and she travels really well. I think this test could suit her, and who knows, maybe she's still well handicapped. We'll move on to the 2:15 back at Musselburgh, the Betway Hogman Hay handicap hurdle. It's over 2 miles, again on ITV. We've got Irish Row, an old favourite for Peter Atkinson in here, but I think the favourite's Chica Buena. Am I right, Binners?
No, she's second favourite.
Oh.
No, you got it right a minute ago. Irish Row is the 3-1 favourite. Then we're 4-1 Chica Buena, 13-2 Night of Glory, 7 Get Out the Gate and Velmo, and it's a rest.
Yeah, that was deplorable from me. Should know better. I checked a lot of the markets. Paddy Power's not agreeing with me. Starting off with Irish Row then, Watsy. She's sort of been around for quite a while and knocking around in these really valuable races, but she's yet to win for a bit.
No, she hasn't, but she has been set some stiff tasks by Peter Atkinson. Royal Stable Star, I think he's only got a handful of horses in his yard, but she's been a fantastic money spinner for him.
I think he's a pig farmer, isn't he?
He is.
Real romantic story.
Yeah,
then.
yeah, absolutely. But for a small yard like that, she's been absolutely fantastic. And this is probably her easiest task, even though she's got top weight here. It's probably her easiest task for some time. So, she's certainly not ruled out from the head of the weights. But quite differential there. You just go down the list, and at the bottom, your eye is drawn to Chica Buena, Keith Dalglish's horse, who comes here on a 5-timer. Won on all sorts of ground. He's won here a couple of starts ago at Musselburgh on decent going. They always tend to get good ground at Musselburgh, and that's why you get the good fields, and that's why you get the southern trainers going up there as well. So it's another really competitive heat they put on here for the TV. And I think Chica Buena, I think she's off a mark of 132.
Yeah.
Might just have a bit more in the tank off that mark, and I'm taking Keith Dalglish to be celebrating tomorrow.
Yeah, she certainly knows how to win. It's hard to sort of gauge how good she is, because I think she won by a mammoth margin last time at Aintree, but probably didn't beat an awful lot. But you can't knock the style in which she did it, could you?
No, possibly slightly flattered. There's always two ways looking at races. Now, you could be impressed with her, or you could say, well, maybe some of the others underperformed and she's had it easy. But she is on a roll, 4 wins in a row, and they always get caught up with. In the end, the handicapper gets hold of them, but maybe there's one more left to go in the sequence. Yeah,
wouldn't be surprised. Be interested to see where they target her thereafter, to see what happens to her mark. Binner's another really good trainer, Keith Dalglish, dual purpose again. Let's give him some credit. He's done a fantastic job with this filly.
Absolutely, Maddie. She's been a revelation for Keith. I'm disappointed that Paddy Power don't make her favourite, because my good friend, the Curracundra, Brendan Jig, produced the first of her wins. She won a maiden hurdle at Ballinrobe. He sold her on to some connections of Keith's, and she's done brilliantly. Brendan's absolutely delighted. I spoke to him the other day, and I am a firm believer that Chica Buena will complete that 5-timer.
Confidence there. Moving on to the 2:35 at Cheltenham, the simplified horse racing selections with Betfinder at BetBright Handicap Hurdle. Oh, that's a bit of a mouthful. Au Petit Soin, really interesting one in this. Again, starting with your selection, Watsy. 2015 Coral Cup winner now with Dan Skelton. He's got that back class, but he's been very fragile over the years, hasn't he?
Very fragile. Made the move from Paul Nicholls to Dan Skelton, although I don't necessarily see that as a minus. Obviously they've switched a few of those horses in the past, and it's worked out okay. I just thought there was a lot to take from his run at Newbury last time. He travelled with all his old zest. He looked dangerous turning into the home straight, got a bit tired. I think he finished about 8th or 9th in the end, but a lot to take from that. I think from a handicapping point of view, he's only two pounds higher than when he won the Coral Cup at Cheltenham. So again, that doesn't rule him out by any means. That's, looks quite lenient to me. And if he comes on for that, and you always talk about the bounce and that kind of stuff, but if he comes on as he should do, you think logically he'll come on from that run at Newbury last time out. He looked to retain all of his old ability. Didn't quite work out for him over fences, did it? So he's probably done the right thing, keeping him over hurdles. And he does have an awful lot of class. This horse was expected to go to the top at one stage for Paul Nicholls. didn't quite transpire that way, but it's not too late for him. And obviously with Dan Skelton, he's in the right hands.
Yeah, Binners, this is a really, really interesting race with some really informed rivals in there, so it won't be easy.
No, very open race, Maddie. 5-1 the field. Vive le Roi for Tony Carroll heads the field at 5. Then it's 11-2 Oak Squire. Then 13-2 Jersey Bean. 8-1 The Name of Aids Me, and it's 10-1 the rest.
Yeah, Vive le Roi, obviously his form was boosted by Rock Point when he won that graded event here last time. What's he? A horse who's sort of going up and up in the handicap. Do you think he's probably just reaching his ceiling now?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a real success story, isn't it? We were talking about the smaller trainers a minute ago. For Tony Carroll to have a horse like that on his hands is absolutely fantastic. I mean, he's been around for a few years now, Tony, but you know, again, he's one that can produce the goods, and he's done it repeatedly this season with this particular horse. At some stage, you know, you keep rolling the dice and you run into these kind of better horses, I think. And you know, I just think a horse like Au Petit Soin with the back class that he's got, if he's back to his best, Vive le Roi might just find him too much this time. But you know, it's not to take away from the season he's already had. Yeah,
I quite fancy Jersey Bean here, sort of foiled in his hat-trick big at Market Raisin last time, beaten by Aaron Ladd. I think he was giving him an awful lot of weight that day. Might have been, I've got the number 17. I think it might have been 17 pounds in my head, but forgive me if that's wrong. Aaron Ladd absolutely bolted up at Cheltenham when we last saw him. So I think he's a really interesting one for Oliver Sherwood, firmly on the upgrade. Binners, what price can we get on him?
Which one was that, Maddie? Sorry?
Jersey Bean.
Jersey Bean is a 13-2 chance, Maddie.
I don't think that's too bad at all. What are your thoughts, Binners?
Well, I'm going to take a massive punt here on Carizak. The outside of the field, 20-1. It is a little bit of a gamble. He disappointed at Newbury last time, but that was after a very, very, very long absence from the track. Surely he'll come on for the run. And if he returns to anything close to his best a few years ago, I think he was 4th in the long walk hurdle at Newbury in 2015. If he can reproduce anything near like that, I think he's a massive each-way chance at 20-1.
Big price there from Binners, but as you say, both forgiving. Two horses who have been off the scene, so to speak, for quite a while. We'll move on to the 310 at Cheltenham, the Dornan Engineering Relkeel hurdle, Grade 2. Willie Mullins, no runners. Lorena, the weight goes on to see her. Let's have a chat about that first off, Watsy. Where's she going to go next? I mean, the ground, it's so unseasonably dry at this time of year, isn't it? Crazy to think that the ground we're going to have tomorrow at Cheltenham and no rain forecast or anything like that. What are the options? Is he just going to run her first time in the champion hurdle or something like that? No,
I wouldn't have thought so. I would think it increases the options of her staying within Mare's company. You know, because he's not getting that match practice into her against champion hurdle horses that you'd like to have seen by this time of the year. I don't know. This isn't a go at Willie Mullins in particular, but just the state of things in national hunt racing. It seems the window within which trainers are willing to run their horses these days is so small. That, you know, they're getting pulled out all the time. And is it good to soft at Cheltenham tomorrow?
Yeah, something like that.
So, you know, what harm is there in running on good to soft? I can't believe that good to soft indicates there is some dig in the ground to a degree.
Yeah.
It's not soft, it's not heavy, which maybe she prefers. But if it's on the soft side of good, really, why can you not run a national hunt? I just don't understand it.
I totally agree.
And I think they're so defensive now, it's getting ridiculous. And who knows where she'll end up or what she'll go for. It's, you know, and it kind of takes away from the, you know, like the horses that have turned up tomorrow. We got a really competitive little race, and last year's winner Holstone going again, who would be my selection actually.
Yeah, just going back, I mean, I agree with you on Holstone, but just going back to Lorena, I find it kind of ridiculous. I know she probably is a very fragile horse, and understandably you have to treat horses as individuals, but you know, it's safe ground. If it's safe and you're willing to run other horses on it, I sort of think, shouldn't she be able to run as well? I'm not too sure. Binners, where do you stand on it?
Well, I'd like to see her out, Maddie. We all like to see good horses out, and I'd be delighted to see Lorena there tomorrow. No doubt Connections have got good reasons for not running her, but yeah, it's a shame that the ground is a bit faster at this time of the year than it has been in past years, but that's just the way it goes, and it's unlucky for Cheltenham and it's unlucky for punters because we want big fields with good horses.
Yeah, and it's frustrating, but nevertheless, we've seen the champion hurdle picture stream wide open. I think she could be a real player, so it's a shame we couldn't see her really lay down the law and see what she could do. But nevertheless, sort of a small and select field. Holstone, what's your selection you mentioned just then? Talk us through why. Last year's winner, obviously, as we can see behind us, he loves the track.
I think he's just a demon at this trip. I just don't think he's the same horse at 3 miles. I know he's won at 3 miles, but I just always think it stretches him a little bit. And I think in top class, graded races over 3 miles, I think it just stretches him. And I always fancy something to do him for a bit of stamina at the end of the race. But bring him back in trip to this kind of intermediate distance. And I think he's absolutely mustard, as he showed in the race last season. He beat Agripart quite comfortably. Loves Cheltenham, loads of good efforts to his name at the track. He's won at the track, before. So, I just think this is the kind of race, when you've got a horse like Holstone, these are the kind of races he needs to win. This is this kind of, it's a bit of a cliche, but it's kind of cup final in a way, these kind of races. These are the ones he wants to be winning. And I suppose later on in the season, the 2.5 mile race at Aintree could be ideal for him as well. But I just think he's a little bit better at this trip than he is at 3 miles, where I don't fancy him. I'd always try and oppose him at that trip. But when he's running over this kind of distance, I think he's awfully hard to beat, and I think he will be again in this.
Yeah, and your argument makes sense. Really impressive at Aintree, and then as soon as he went to Newbury, maybe that extra distance just found him out behind, harrying horses of that calibre, yeah. Binners, what price can we get on Holstone?
5 to 4 favourite, Maddie. Then we go 130 Old Guard, 11 to 2 Klein, 7 Midnight Shadow, 15 to 2 Thomas Campbell, and it's 14 Sirius Darius.
Yeah, great to see a horse like Old Guard. He's still seemed to have been around for a long time, but running up to his game in races like this, running the Great Wood Hurdle, and I think it's really good of Paul Nicholls just to keep running him. He knows his conditions are fast ground, so he gets that here, and he could be capable of a big race, what's he?
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? He hasn't been spared this season at all, has he?
No.
He's been out in a lot of races and he holds his form really well. I mean, he's a fantastic horse to own and be part of, and always runs his race. And the dry conditions has enabled him to kind of keep running in these races from the start of the season through to now. So I'm sure, for forecast players, he's going to be popular because he'll run his race for sure. Now, I don't think he's got enough in the tank to maybe cope with a peak form Holstone, but he's got loads of good prize money to his name this season just from picking up the pieces and finishing in the frame, and I'm sure he'll do the same again. Yeah,
runs well at the track. Binners, it's a shame that we've not got a real up and comer in here. It's mainly sort of the more proven old stagers. Who's your eye drawn to?
Well, I'm going to go for one that I think is very progressive, Maddie. Evan Williams is Klein, runner-up to Harry in the long distance hurdle. Difficult to know quite what to make of that form, as Harry took an unfortunate stumble in the long walk hurdle. But as I said, I think he's very progressive, and I think there's certainly a big race in this fellow.
Yeah, he's always been runner-up to the new one in those sort of races and the trials and things like that, Klein. So it'd be good to see him win, especially after Evan Williams having Silver Streak running up in the Great Wood and running such a big race in the international hurdle as well. Other races to mention on New Year's, we've got the Savills Chase, another Savills Chase at Tremor. Did you get a chance to have a look at that one?
Yeah, I did actually, because sometimes the fields in these Irish chases, these listed and lower graded races can be a bit disappointing, but this one certainly isn't. Tremor must be absolutely delighted with the field they've got. They've got Album Photo, they've got Invitation Only, amongst others, and it's a really competitive contest. My eye was kind of drawn to Invitation Only, who ran in the mad Album Photo race from the Punchestown Festival last season, and he was the one that was kind of cutting out the running, and he was still in there with every chance. When he fell, I think it was 2 out. So interesting to see. Obviously, we don't know what would have happened if he'd stood up. Album Photo, if what transpired afterwards was extraordinary, obviously. But I think it might be a bit of value tomorrow. Invitation Only. He's a horse I've been looking out for some time this season. He was in the Ladbrokes Trophy. Willie Mullins had him in there in the week of the race and then pulled him out. So he must be ready. He must have been ready to go for quite some time. And he showed good form last season behind Monolly, not beaten far, and he's one that I've been looking forward to this second season.
Yeah, he's always had a massive reputation. Binners, have we got any betting on that race yet?
No betting on that one yet, Maddie, but I quite like the look of Total Recall, another leap of faith. He hasn't completed in his last 3 starts, but obviously if he does run up to somewhere near the form of his Hennessy win, he should go there or thereabout.
Yeah. Definitely easy to forget horses like that, but they've shown they can do it on the day. What's the other races on New Year's? We've got Tremor, as we mentioned, Cheltenham, Ferryhouse, Catterick, Musselburgh, Southall, Exeter and Fakenham. We've not mentioned the first 2 races at Cheltenham. I'm really interested to see how Nicky Henderson's I Can Explain gets on in that first race. Be interesting if something can step forward there. Interesting that Cool Lanley comes out as well after running in the Challow.
Yeah, I know you like Cool Lanley, don't you? You've liked him for a long time.
I liked him as a bumper horse, but I think maybe he's just starting to get a bit exposed now. He ran well the other day, but I'll be really excited to see if I Can't Explain comes out and sort of has a really good performance. The third from his Sandown runner, Mick Shannon's horse, has come out and won since, so although that form's not working out amazingly well, it still gives it some sort of boost. And then the second race as well, we've got really nice chase with Robinsfirth, who's a good horse. I think he could run quite well. Did you have a look at anything else on New Year's?
I kind of, there's been so much to look at. It's another busy day after a busy period. It's been quite a breathless period for racing in general. And yeah, I've looked at a lot of races tomorrow. I picked out a couple of the gaffs, one for later in the week. But I didn't have a massive view on the first 2 at Cheltenham. But like you said, very good competitive races, and I'll be watching and enjoying.
Yeah, and Binners, what about you?
I've got one on the flat for flat fans. Had it at Southall in the 5 furlong handicap at 1:45 New Year's Day. John Balding's Your Call. This fella seems to have reached his full maturity now, won 2 of his last 3. And I thought his win at Wolverhampton last time was quite clever, and he's only £3 higher in the handicap.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Binners. We'll take another quick break now.
Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and a grand up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.
Welcome back to the final instalment of this Monday Postcast. It's been a select crew this time around. Whatsy just does 3, but I've enjoyed it nevertheless. Midweek racing. Who's caught your eye this week at the tracks?
Well, there's one at Lingfield on Friday. Forget the time of the race, but it's a handicap hurdle, 2-mile handicap hurdle. I think that Evan Williams has entered the Gipper or the Gipper. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it, but what I do know is he's certainly an informed horse. He's won his last 2 races. He's mustered on softer, heavy ground. It's soft at Lingfield at the moment. One of the rare tracks that has got real dig in the ground at the moment. He won there 2 starts ago, hacked up again last time, and he's gone up in the weights. I think he's up to 130 now, but he has defied that mark in the past. So I would take the Gipper or the Gipper to land his hat-trick. And just one quickly, I didn't mention it earlier, for tomorrow on the gaffs at Fakenham 120, Polo the Mum, trained by Alex Dunn. Easy winner at Taunton last time out. I'd expect that one to follow up.
Nicely done. I'll just spin through those races before we go over to Binners. So on Wednesday we've got Ayr, Wolverhampton, Newcastle, Hereford. Thursday is Ludlow, Southall and Chelmsford. Friday, Weatherbeat, Lingfield, Kempton and Wolverhampton. Nice for some of us to have some respite, Binners, after such a busy period, but no doubt you've still found one for us.
Yeah, got one at Newcastle on Wednesday, Maddie. A horse called Shanghai Grace. The Charlie Hills goes in the 7 furlong novice at 4:45. I think it's quite significant. Charles is taking that one all the way up north. Steps up to 7 furlongs for the first time. Been running over 6. And if he can manage to repeat his second in a maiden at Windsor in June, surely he'll go close.
Okay, and we'll move on now to the midweek nap.
This will not be beaten.
I'll kick us off. I'm going to go Jersey Bean 2:35 at Cheltenham tomorrow. Fingers crossed Oliver Sherwood's horse can carry on the upward curve. I think he's really solid. What's he?
I'll go with Asso. Love that horse. Venetia
Okay.
Williams, Asso, New Year's Day, Cheltenham, perfect.
Okay, and Binners.
I'm going to go for a horse, all-weather fast-track qualifier at Wolverhampton on Wednesday, the 250, and the horse's name is Crossing the Line. I think this one can justify the form of her win over Lucy May, who reopposes, having been beaten by my selection at Chelmsford earlier in the month, especially as the winner is now a £1 better off.
Absolutely fabulous. Well, that should do us for today. As always, if you enjoy these shows, make sure you rate, review and subscribe wherever you're listening to us from. Make sure you tune in to our Thursday football postcast where Brooke, Mark, Bruce, Mark Langdon and the team will be looking back at the Premier League games in the week and look at a big clash between Liverpool and Man City at the FA Cup third round fixtures. When we'll be back here on Friday, of course, Bruce will be going through the card in plenty more detail and the ITV action as well as Sandown and Wincanton. So until next time, goodbye.
Introducing Paddy Power's Beat the Drop. We're giving every customer 30 days free entry and £1,000 up front. It's up to you to keep it. All you have to do is answer 10 questions correctly. Play now at beatthedrop.paddypower.com.